Hello Giants fans, welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. The Giants lost to the Dodgers yesterday 5-1. Now here's a question. What does a good bullpen really need? Various applicable answers exist, but I think I've got a pretty good one, given the current very bad circumstances. A good bullpen needs relievers who are able to pitch out of jams in the late innings of a ball game when holding a lead or a tie, especially when there are 2 outs in the inning. And last night, Sam Long was in. He had 2 outs, Cody Bellinger at the plate, with runners on all bases loaded. But with 2 strikes and no balls, he gave up a grand slam to Cody Bellinger, and that slammed the game away for the Giants. It's another lost one. Isn't that sounding a little familiar? It wasn't a grand slam the night before, but it was a 3-run homer from Mookie Betts. Do you get now the phenomenon that's sinking the Giants? That's why I say a good bullpen needs to be able to pitch out of jams in the late innings. Last night, what happened was Cody Bellinger hit a grand slam. He had 2 strikes and no balls with the bases loaded. And Long was aiming for the bottom of the strike zone with this curveball. He would have been better off not aiming for the strike zone. Whoa. Always hate it when I get interrupted by a motorcycle like that. Well, actually that hasn't happened. I think before it was a plane. Anyway, let's not lose the train of thought. Keep going. Anyway, Long would have been better off throwing his curveball outside the strike zone and trying to get a swing from Bellinger. When you have 2 strikes, that is the time when you least need to throw the ball in the strike zone. And Bellinger had fouled off a couple of pitches. But what's the point? Well, the point, and I understand you can't walk a guy in that situation either, because the bases were loaded, but he had no balls. Go back to that. The point is, Long had 2 strikes on Bellinger. Yeah, LaMonte Wade made an error in the inning. The inning should have been over. Long's not going to be charged with a single earned run because the inning should have been over after Wade's error. Let's go back to the point. The point is, Sam Long had 2 strikes on Cody Bellinger and was 1 strike away from getting out of the inning. I'm not blaming Wade for this. I'm blaming the Giants' bullpen for their failure in these 2 games against the Dodgers. What has it really cost them? Well, the one thing the Giants had to be happy about, even when coming into Los Angeles to play these Dodgers, was this. The way the schedule lined up, with the All-Star break and everything, they had both Carlos Rodon and Logan Webb lined up to be able to pitch in the series against the Dodgers. Well, both of their starts have already happened, and the Giants have lost both of them. The 2 best starting pitchers, one of the positives in a series against the Dodgers, it's been lost. Both their starts. Logan Webb actually seemed to blame himself a little bit for his start last night. He gave up 1 run in 6 innings because he didn't have his best stuff. I will grant you he didn't have his best command. Is probably not his best stuff either. But that makes it all the more incredible. That just makes a good pitching performance all the more incredible. Logan Webb should be congratulated instead of, well, yeah, you get the point, right? So a 6-inning start, giving up 1 run, that's a great start. Logan Webb's not happy about his start. There's a truck. Don't know if that's too much noise. Logan Webb is not happy about his start, but he should be thrilled about it because he worked around his issues to give a great game for the Giants that they should have, well, I can't say they should have won if it was a tie. They should have had a better chance to win. The point is that in the 8th inning, Sam Long, we're going to keep going back to this, had 2 strikes on Cody Bellinger. And you go, but what about the error? Well, I'm not going to go as far as to say I don't care that Wade made an error. I'm saying it's not his fault primarily. You still need the bullpen to be able to pitch out of jams. That is not going to change. Yeah, it was a costly error. That's not what I'm thinking about here. And Long gave up a home run. It was a grand slam. But basically that's a home run with the bases loaded. So he gave up a home run. That was the second home run, second straight night in a row that sunk the Giants. We're not talking about, I don't know, I gotta have a lot of things to compare this to, I guess. But hey, we're not talking about just perfectly placed hits that hard for the pitcher to control, hard for the defense to control. We're not talking about perfectly placed hits. And we are certainly not discussing the level of control a pitcher exerts over whether a batted ball turns into a hit or an out. We're beyond that in this discussion. We're talking about Giants relievers giving up home runs over the wall in the 8th inning to sink the team. This isn't about BABIP, batting average on balls in play. This is about balls that were ultimately hit out of play, home run balls. That's what the Giants are giving up. That's what's sinking them. And that's what Sam Long unfortunately did in the 8th inning last night, and he's not going to be charged with a single home earned run because of Wade's error, but he still was a strike away from getting out of the inning. That's what's so unfortunate. And hey, if the Giants are going to have to live off of blowing games out where they don't need their bullpen in close tie game situations, but they live off of getting things going early, blowing the other team out, they better really try to get Juan Soto at the trade deadline because their competition for him is going to be high. Let me tell you that. And you could also say, well, they could just get a couple more relievers. I suppose. But it really depends on which players are going to have, I think, just the biggest marginal value for them. Because, I mean, well, Juan Soto's the guy with all of the... He is an exceptional baseball player where I would think he'd be hitting for great average and great home run totals if he came to the Giants. So if they're planning to live off of their offense, keeping the games from being close, they better think about getting Soto. Yeah, they're going to have to trade a lot for him, I understand that. But hey, next year, if the Giants are hopelessly out of contention, they'll have plenty of major league players that they could trade to get more young prospects. I'm not going to be super concerned about that when I see that what we need is to win right now because the Giants are chasing a wild card spot, and they're chasing a wild card spot closely. They're behind the Phillies and the Cardinals, which, well, I don't know if the Phillies or Cardinals won last night, but last I heard, they were tied for that second National League wildcard spot. So that's the issue we've got. Basically, the bullpen needs to stop giving up home runs in the late innings. And yes, it does matter when a pitcher gives up hits. If the whole thing with peripheral ERA, if anybody knows what that even means, you know, I can't accept that statistic very well because it does matter what sequence they give up hits in. And last night, the Giants couldn't really take Sam Long out because, well, he is one of the best left-handed relievers they got. He's probably the best. And the Dodgers were putting up a sequence of left-handed hitters. Just this, long sequence of left-handed hitters. And he struck out Gavin Lux. Then, well, there was a hit by pitch, whether that happened before or after, I can't remember. But Cody Bellinger came to the plate. What a good bullpen needs is the ability to pitch out of jams in the late innings, even when facing the league's very best hitters. I had forgotten to add that part in, but it's critical. When facing the league's best hitters in a tight spot like that. That sounds like a high standard, and it is, but it is nothing less than what a good bullpen can need a lot of the time. And right now it's the case because we just saw the games against the Dodgers with potentially the highest win expectancy go down the drain. And today, I don't know what to tell you besides the Giants need to win today. Would it be too much to ask for them to play to that level? It'll be Alex Wood starting for the Giants today, and he's had his good starts, he's had his bad ones. Let's just say if he could turn things around, make a good start today, I don't feel like the Giants have needed that more than they do now in just a long time. So yeah, high leverage pitching in the late innings. It's got to be better. They have to get out of jams. No excuse at being the league's best hitters. And certainly to stop giving up home runs. Because evidently, that is what's sinking the Giants in a close race for the final wild card spot that there is. And when the trade deadline comes up, they better make at least a good deal and add a lot more to their roster, because that's what an average team like the Giants is going to need to make a playoff push this year. And yes, I am concerned about winning now and winning right now if they have to trade a lot. Well, this is a year where the margin's going to make the difference. This could be their playoff spot. And if you think they're not going to go a whole long way, well, let me just say the playoffs is really the time for average teams to surprise. I would think since wildcard teams have won the World Series, the Giants were the wildcard team in 2014, and they won the World Series that year. I'd say whenever you can make the playoffs, you do it, and it usually is better to think about winning now than to think about winning later. And the Giants have been blessed with a winning record getting near the trade deadline on July 31st. So all of that to say they had better add to their roster. And I think that right now, that is more significant than thinking about later, are the Giants' prospects hopefully going to be good later, because we can fix that later if we have to have a rebuild year. This year, it's either a playoff year, or else it certainly wasn't a rebuild year, because we're adding players on at the deadline. They've got a winning record. If it were a rebuild year, it would have had to have been a bad year, like a losing year long before this point. Come too far now. Now the Giants need to add on. And to stop giving up home runs. In the meantime, we just have to hopefully make it to the trade deadline when roster reinforcements will come. In the meantime, the Giants need to stop giving up home runs in the late innings with 2 outs. Thank you for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you have not. That way you can get all this content. You could also email me, GabrielVaughn89@gmail.com, with an insightful question or comment. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.